Good day. Welcome to the Getting Started video that focuses on configuring BeyData Librarian for first-time use. After installing Librarian, this is what most users will see when they first log in. From here, there are several settings that must be set in order for the system to operate properly. So let's go about the business of setting those settings. To get to the Options page, simply select the File tab, and if it's not currently present, click on the Option settings. There are four option groups that you need to set: your mail settings, your report settings, your database settings, and of course risk profiles. So let's go ahead and start with the mail settings. To configure the mail settings, simply click on the Configure Mail icon and then define what mail server is going to be used to send mail, what port, username, and password if required to send mail, and then the from address. And the from address could be something like librarian at whatevercompanyyouare.com. Then you're able to define a mail template. When the system sends the specific task to the assigned user or group, it'll send the ID, the workflow or assessment name, the task, and subject. Some people prefer to provide more information. This template allows you to provide more information. And once you're done setting these values, simply click Save, and your settings will be updated. The next group of settings we're going to look at is the report settings. And to get to the report settings, simply click on the report settings icon. If you're unfamiliar with the reports available in BeyData Librarian, please feel free to view the other video on this page that describes each of the BeyData Librarian reports. So let's go ahead and configure some settings. The first settings we're going to notice is the RTF header and the RTF footer. This is where you put a title, a header, and a footer, and this is produced for the RTF reports and the immutable PDF report. You can say anything you want here, and you can test it by running the RTF report, and you'll see the header and footer. The next item is the replace text. And what the replace text will do is when encountering some variable or name, like sysname, it'll then change it to a friendly name like system name. This way you can name your report fields and values simply and automatically get the friendly name. The next item is the remove text. This accepts one value per line, and it comes pre-configured with some items. These items represent the default assessments that are installed, and when they run, they'll basically eliminate themselves from the report, which is sometimes necessary in an assessment. It should be noted that when you create a new assessment, that these will be added automatically for the replace text, and you can review them after creating an assessment to make sure that the words match what you want to appear on the report. The next item to talk about is on the Risk Ranges tab. The Risk Ranges tab is a way of calculating and showing the total risk of an assessment. One of the reports that we have is the HTML report that includes the risk ranges and the risk detail for each task of an assessment. So set these values to equal what you consider low, medium, high, or critical risk. And when the report runs, it'll use these numbers in order to set the risk on an assessment. Again, that's for the HTML assessment report with risk. The next tab is the general settings. And the general settings deals with general report settings and general risk settings. Let's go ahead and talk about each one of them. Okay, so the first one to talk about is the maximum concurrent assessments before risk. What this is basically doing is it lets you evaluate your team, understand how many assessments you can run at once, while still being successful and still being able to complete them in a timely manner. Once you define that number, you put it here in the system. And the same is true of the maximum open task before risk. So these two numbers are saying, if I have more than 50 assessments running, my team of 5 can't accomplish that. Or the open task, maybe the 200 task, maybe your team of 5 couldn't accomplish that in a timely manner. This works with the dashboards, so when you're looking at your team dashboards, you'll see right away if you're at risk of not completing the assessments on time. Another item under the general settings is the maximum average risk. So as all the assessments are running, there's a risk being calculated the entire time. And the system looks at that risk and it averages it. So now if the risk is above 700 for an average risk, maybe in general all of your assessments are running a high risk and maybe you want to be warned. That also is in the risk dashboard. Remember, you have the team dashboard, the status dashboard, and the risk dashboard. Now, when you install the product, it does not boot up and show you a default dashboard, but each user might have a different preference. So we come in here and we can set which dashboard we want to see by default. Now, in the next section, the HTML report templates, there are 3 templates that you can set here. They are the HTML header for assessments, the HTML footer for assessments and non-assessments, and the HTML header for non-assessment reports. Again, please see the video on reports so you can understand all the reports are available, both the assessment reports and the non-assessment reports. One last mention as related to report templates. These reports are designed to separate data and structure and presentation. What this means is that there's a CSS file, and you can modify the assessment CSS file to match however you want the report to look, or the non-assessment CSS file. Once you set your settings, all you have to do is hit save, and you have successfully saved the report settings. It's important to remember that you have to restart your system before the new settings will take effect. Okay, the next group of settings we're going to look at is the settings related to the database. Locations, functions, strings, passwords. To get to the database settings, simply click on the database icon on the options page. Okay, this will bring up the actual database settings being used in the system. So when it comes to attachments, pictures, Word documents, spreadsheets, they're actually stored in the SQL, Oracle, whatever database you're using. And when creating your assessment report, they'll then be extracted to a location of your choice. By default, it's the installed directory plus attachments. However, you may want to put them in a more secure location on the network or on some cloud drive or OneDrive, anywhere you want to put them. The next item is the database location. Now, this is very important. In the personal edition of the product, this is the only database location you're going to worry about because it doesn't allow you to use database servers or use the cloud. It just uses a local database. So if you're just using the personal edition, nothing to change here. And then the next one is the log location, and the log location is where you want the system logs to be stored. And by default, it's in the exact same location as the database. Now, the next item is the database server. This could be a SQL Express, a MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, Azure, Amazon Cloud Services. And there are three things here. First, the connection string, then the username, and then the password. Once you put all of these in, and before saving your settings, simply hit the Test Connection button. If, and let's put in some bogus connection string, if the connection didn't work, you're going to get connection failed. Please check your string. I'm going to clear that for now because we don't want to save any changes. Once it comes back and it says the connection worked, then you can save those changes. And that's all there is to the database settings. There is one thing to note. If you need help on any screen, simply click the help button and you'll get some help on how to complete the screen properly. The next set of options that we want to configure are the risk profiles. To get to the risk profiles, we go ahead and click on the risk profile icon. Risk profiles are somewhat different than the other settings. The risk profiles require you to edit, create a new set of risk profiles, risk increments, or just to use the ones stored in the system. So let's take a look. Let's go ahead and select the CIPL risk categories. Okay, so all these boxes have populated, and if you're a techie person, you can go ahead and edit these directly. Or, if you want to do it the easy way, you can simply click on the Build button after having your risk category loaded. From here, you can modify or change the individual risk or the business risk. You could even apply some defaults. However, the default should be prepared in the risk templates. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click Cancel here. One last thing that you should note. If you want to add a new risk profile, select the risk profile that you want to use by default, make sure it's loaded, then go to Risk Profile field, type New, add it, which automatically changed that field, and then hit Save. And you've now created a risk profile called New. And remember, you can modify it however you want. Okay, that's all the options that you need to worry about when first coming in and running BeyData Librarian. There's just one more thing here that we want to show you. Most of you will have a license key that you need to enter. To enter your license key, simply go to About, select Manage License, and you can add a new license through this screen. Okay, so that finishes up settings or initial settings for running BeyData Librarian. We hope you found this video helpful.